a little less than 4 minutes or so. Taking a quick peek back at the live chat here. I want to thank a few more folks for your support. Alex Casson, the $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Alex. Steve Martin, not the legendary comedian, but one of our channel members, so perhaps even better, joining us with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Steve. Rick Donner, another channel member with a very generous $20 super chat. Thank you so much, Rick. Says happy anniversary. Really appreciate that. And Tara Dolzani with a $5 super chat. And a hiya emoji. Thank you, Tara. And you see the big vent underway here at T-minus 19 minutes, 57 seconds and counting. Another good sign that fueling is continuing on track tonight. T-minus 16 minutes, 38 seconds and counting. The big vent is beginning to taper off, wrapping up in the next couple seconds or so. Liquid oxygen loading aboard the second stage of the Falcon 9 will start in just about 20 seconds, T-minus 16 minutes. There you see the end of the big vent. As I mentioned, locks loading. Getting ready to start right about now. Let's go ahead and talk about the payload that's on board tonight. This batch of Starlink satellites. At the center of your screen, taking a look at a file photo of the Starlink V2 minis, what they look like when they're in their launch configuration. This photo taken before another Starlink launch. 23 Starlinks flying this evening. This will be the 38th launch of the V2 minis. And in 2023, this will be the 58th Starlink launch overall this year. Each of the V2 minis weighs about 1,760 pounds or 800 kilograms. After the solar panels unfurl, they have a wingspan of about 100 feet or 30 meters. They use argon hull thrusters for in-orbit maneuvers and were built up in Redmond, Washington, near Seattle. If you want to see what they look like in flight, this is about as good a picture as we have these days. SpaceX hasn't published a rendering or an actual photo of the V2 minis in their operating on-orbit configuration, but this is a photo that was taken from another satellite owned by Australian company HEO Robotics earlier this year. And they claim this was the first direct observation of a Starlink V2 mini. You can see the two solar panel wings unfurled, extending from the main body of the satellite. T-minus 14 minutes, 10 seconds and counting. And T-minus 13 minutes, 6 seconds and counting. Taking a quick peek at the live chat here. I want to thank Well Reasoned for gifting 5 Spaceflight Now memberships. Thank you so much, Well Reasoned. They're very generous of you. So to Paul Blau, Aiden C., Joshua Ganine, Robert Kinzer, and Wally Hirsch, welcome to channel membership. Hope you all enjoy it. We hope you stick with us as you enjoy live 4K views of all the launches from the Cape, as well as discounts at the online shop, shop.spaceflightnow.com, and access to member-only videos. And thanks as well to Love and Light for a $2 super chat donation. Appreciate you, Love and Light. Thanks for the support. Departing 229 feet tall with a diameter of 3.66 meters or 12 feet. Most of that made it by the first stage of the rocket. This booster has flown 5 times before, going for flight number 6 tonight, tail number 1078. Just went over the booster history a little while ago. At the base of the first stage are the 9 Merlin engines, which burn rocket-grade kerosene and liquid oxygen, producing 1.7 million pounds of thrust. Around the engine compartment are the black carbon fiber landing legs that will be used to land the first stage on the drone ship A Shortfall of Gravitas, about 8.5 minutes into flight. Above the first stage is the inner stage. It's a composite structure that that is consisting of an aluminum honeycomb core surrounded by carbon fiber. In the image on the right-hand side of your screen, you can see those deployable hypersonic grid fins. These titanium winglets provide stability and steering for the Falcon 9 as it comes back through the atmosphere, falling tail first like a big old dart towards that drone ship. At the top of the inner stage are 3 mechanical latches that attach to the second stage. The first stage main engine cutoff. High-pressure helium is used to release those latches. 4 pneumatic pushers ensure a clean separation. The second stage engine nozzle is safely housed inside the inner stage adapter until stage separation. Speaking of that second stage, the upper stage of the Falcon 9, powered by a single modified Merlin engine called a Merlin vacuum engine, or an MVAC engine. It's equipped with a large nozzle, optimized for burns in the vacuum of space, and it produces more than 200,000 pounds of thrust. It'll be fired twice on today's flight to place the 23 Starlink satellites into their intended orbit. Like the first stage, the MVAC engine on the second stage burns the same propellant mix, RP1 and liquid oxygen. We'll ignite a third time after the deployment of the Starlink satellites for a deorbit burn to drive the upper stage back into the atmosphere where it will burn up, helping to eliminate the risk for any unnecessary space debris on this mission. And finally, up top are the payload fairings, which are housing the 23 Starlink satellites. The payload fairing made up of a carbon composite material that is 13.1 meters or 43 feet tall, 5.2 meters or 17.1 feet in diameter. The 2 fairing halves will be recovered a little bit further downrange from where the first stage lands on the drone ship. They splash down under parachutes and will be scooped up by the recovery vessel Doug. And like the first stage booster, the fairing halves will be brought back to Port Canaveral, where they will be offloaded, brought back to SpaceX facilities where they are going to be refurbished and turned around for future flights. Now T-minus 8 minutes, 24 seconds and counting. And thanks to DJ Latin Man for a $10 super chat donation. Thank you so much, DJ. Says thank you for your continued coverage and dedication to spaceflight. Well, we wouldn't have it any other way. It isn't our name after all. And thanks to 12Z Train, our newest channel member, joining at the pad leader level. Welcome aboard, 12Z. Hope you enjoy the 4K live views of the mission tonight. We're now T-minus 7 minutes, 4 seconds and counting. Coming up in the next few seconds, the chill down of the 9 Merlin engines is right now getting underway. Involves flowing a small amount of liquid oxygen through the Merlin engine turbo pumps to cool them, condition them ahead of engine start. T-minus 6 minutes, 36 seconds and counting. I want to thank one of our regulars for joining us again, Nelson Reyes, for a $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Nelson. Says thanks again for your great coverage. Thank you for supporting the coverage, Nelson. Appreciate you and everyone else who's helped chip in this evening. Folks like Cheyenne Carlisle. Apologies, Cheyenne, if I mispronounced your last name, but thank you for the $5 super chat. Says, watching from Winter Garden, can't wait. Certainly hope folks around Central Florida have a good enough view given the cloud cover to see the launch tonight. We'll have to wait and see what the views are like if they are able to surmount the clouds and the winds for a liftoff tonight. targeting that launch in just a little over 5.5 minutes. And a welcome to Valerie Jones joining us with channel membership at the pad leader level. Now T-minus 5 minutes, 16 seconds and counting. We're about 30 seconds or so away from the start of the strong back retract sequence. But before we get to that, want to briefly run down the launch timeline for tonight's mission. Following liftoff at 11 o'clock p.m. tonight, Eastern Time, the rocket will pass through max Q, the point of greatest aerodynamic pressure, at T plus 1 minute 12 seconds. And hear that call out from SpaceX that they're getting ready for that strong back retract. Now that we're under the 5-minute mark, we'll be getting SpaceX mission audio. So if I go ahead and pause mid-sentence, that's to allow us all to hear the call outs as they happen.
Strong back retract has started.
Going on down quickly here. T plus 2 minutes 26 seconds. That's first stage main engine cutoff, or MECO, followed up 3 seconds later by stage separation and second stage engine start, with the Merlin vacuum engine will ignite at T plus 2 minutes 35 seconds. The payload fairings will jettison at 3 minutes 7 seconds into flight. T plus 6 minutes 10 seconds, the first stage entry burn will begin, lasting 22 seconds. T plus 8 minutes 6 seconds, the first stage landing burn will begin. The drone ship should touch down just a little under 8.5 minutes into flight. At T plus 8 minutes 39 seconds, second stage engine cutoff occurs and will remain in a coast phase until T plus 54 minutes and 7 seconds, when the Merlin vacuum engine will ignite for a second time for just 2 seconds, setting up Starlink deployment at T plus 1 hour, 5 minutes, and 25 seconds. Taking a look at the SpaceX feed as the clamp arms are opening up just underneath the payload fairings. At T minus 3 minutes, 8 seconds to the planned liftoff time. Just as a quick point of note, the discrepancy between our countdown clock and SpaceX's. Ours is in real time. The SpaceX feed is on a slight delay. And good day.
Stage 1 LOX load is complete.
I hear that call out for stage 1 LOX load complete. Falcon 9 almost fully fueled now. Just waiting to hear that the LOX tank on the second stage is also full, and that'll finish up the fueling. And good day to you, Stephanie B. One of our wonderful moderators joining in the chat just in the nick of time, less than 2 minutes before liftoff. Come back to the new channel members and the super chats on the other side of the launch, but if you haven't already, if you
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
If you hit the like button, allow more folks to find this coverage in the last couple minutes before liftoff, that'd be very much appreciated. Near that call out for LOX load complete, the Falcon 9 is now fully loaded with 1 million pounds of propellant. The venting we're seeing from the launch pad is SpaceX purging the strong back propellant lines, one of the last steps prior to launch. Now T minus
Ground gas closeouts.
1 minute, 20 seconds and counting. Call up for ground gas closeouts. Approaching the final minute of the countdown. T minus 1 minute, the Falcon 9's flight computers will take control as stages 1 and 2 pressurize for flight. The onboard computer will perform checks of the first stage engine steering system as well.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
Hey, the call that the rocket is in startup. Assuming weather's clear enough, we should hear the launch director give the go for launch momentarily.
Go for launch.
And there you have it. Falcon 9 cleared to launch in just 30 seconds. "20 seconds. And here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. And liftoff. Liftoff of the Falcon 9 rocket on the Starlink 6-31 mission. The Falcon 9 has cleared the tower 10 seconds into flight. Falcon 9 climbing through the clouds 30 seconds into flight. Hear the roar of the 9 Merlin engines for the press site. Let's listen in. We're getting great tracking views there from our friend Pete Carstens at Max Q Productions. This is dipping in and out of the clouds from the perspective of Vieira, a little bit south of here. It's tracking view from Chuck Briggs. Here the call-out vehicle is supersonic, traveling faster than the speed of sound. Falcon 9 passing through Max Q, the point of greatest aerodynamic pressure on the rocket. Now approaching a minute and a half into flight. There's less than a minute left of the burn on the first stage. Those 9 Merlin engines producing 1.7 million pounds of thrust. We're approaching MVAC chill down, which, you hear that call out? The Merlin vacuum engine is now thermally conditioning before ignition. Some great views, these coming from Pete Carstens. Honestly, a little surprised how well we can still see the rocket given the amount of clouds that were hanging around Florida this evening. But great that we're able to bring these to you. Now, a little more than 2 minutes into flight, we're approaching MECO, the cutoff of those 9 Merlin engines on the first stage. That'll be followed in short order by stage separation and ignition of the Merlin vacuum engine. And there you see MECO, stage separation. And there's the ignition of the Merlin vacuum engine. You can see a little bit of the glint of the Falcon 9 first stage as it's separated. And you're seeing those events occur in a little bit of a delay on the SpaceX feed boxes on the right-hand side of your screen. Coming up on fairing deployment. And there you see those 2 payload fairings glistening as they fall away from the Falcon 9 second stage. And there's that fairing separation and the delay on the SpaceX feed. Still get them glinting in Pete's tracking camera views. Now T plus 3 minutes, 45 seconds into flight. Just underneath the count-up clock for the mission, we've added the countdown clock for the booster landing, so be sure to stick around for that notable event as the booster making its way back down towards the drone ship, a short fall of gravitas, coming up in less than 4.5 minutes. Now T plus 4.5 minutes into flight. The next milestone coming up is at T plus 6 minutes 42 seconds. That's when the first stage entry burn will begin. We're hoping to be able to capture that live from our tracking cameras on the ground, but obviously we'll have to wait to see if the clouds try to play spoiler to that, but we're keeping an eye on that. And we'll be sure to bring that to you if we can. If not, we do have the SpaceX view, so we'll be able to see it from the onboard cameras. Now 5 minutes into flight. Falcon 9 first stage booster starting to make its descent, falling in altitude now, just a little over 100 kilometers. And falling. Once it does start that entry burn, the speedometer will slow down much more considerably. You see that on the bottom left-hand side of your screen. The box on the left is the camera on board the first stage booster. On the right-hand side, you see the Merlin vacuum engine continuing its burn. Now a little over 6 minutes into flight.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
Stage 1 FTS is saved.
And there you see the actual start of the entry burn there. Now 6 minutes, 33 seconds into flight in real time. 6:30 on the SpaceX feed.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
Stage 2 FTS is saved.
Now T plus 7 minutes, 20 seconds into flight. Coming up on the start of the landing burn here in about 20 seconds or so. Although the start of the entry burn
Stage 1 transonic.
was a little bit earlier than the advertised launch timeline that SpaceX shared earlier. Now 8 minutes into flight in real time, coming up on that 8-minute mark on the SpaceX delay feed.
Stage 1 landing burn.
On the left and right hand side of your screens. It says booster touching down for a 6th time.
Stage 1 landing confirmed.
6 times up, 6 times down for booster tail number 1078 in the SpaceX fleet.
MVAC shut down.
Congratulations to SpaceX for completing the secondary part of the mission. Obviously, first and foremost is getting the 23 Starlink satellites up into low Earth orbit. That mission still very much underway. coming up now in the mission, now that the Merlin vacuum engine has cut off,